एक्सेशन है जो कि कमर्शियल मतलब तो आपको थोड़ा टर्पीन्स की स्मेल भी आएगी आप देखेंगे तो। और वो जो है स्पेसिफिकली जो हीट से
साथ में अल्कलाइन भी होता होगा पसीने से थोड़ा सा बनानी मुश्किल है, ये काम आसान है।
ये काम इसीलिए सर ये काफ़ी मीना जी आप ये आप देखेंगे सामने ये हमने बैटरी वैल्यू हमारे पास में आई है
बाकियों से ज़्यादा है,
बाकियों से ज़्यादा है। और हरिद्वार उत्तराखंड का जो इस पे देख पाएंगे इसमें तो ट्राइकोन्स दिखाई दे रहे हैं आपको। तो ये अभी ये इमेच्योर स्टेज है, अभी हम इसको कलेक्ट नहीं कर।
ये जो प्रोजेक्ट है जिसका जिक्र जुबैर साहब कर रहे थे, इसकी सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है वो शायद धीरे धीरे हमें समझ में आएगी, क्योंकि बहुत सारे समाज के बहुत सारे वर्ग में इसका शायद अभी इतना कॉन्सेप्ट भी नहीं है। और इट इज़ गोइंग टू अकम्प्लिश मोर देन वन थिंग्स एट ए टाइम। एक, it is going to be the first of its kind in India, though this entire region is afflicted by drug abuse, Punjab, Jammu. So we are actually trying to prove to the world that a substance of abuse can be put to the use and welfare of the mankind, particularly in mind. The second, vindication. Third, the drug which gets developed from this experiment will be of export quality, and thereby we live up to Prime Minister Modi's mantra of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Fourth, हमने एक बहुत गंभीर प्रयास किया है फॉर अ वाइडर सिनर्जी। जैसे आपने देखा अंतरिक्ष में जो हमारी सफलताएं हो रही हैं इस समय, वो इसलिए कि वी हैव ओपनड अप स्पेस सेक्टर अंडर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी फॉर प्राइवेट सेक्टर एज वेल। सो विद इन 2 years वी हैव 150 स्टार्टअप्स इन दी स्पेस सेक्टर, प्राइवेट स्टार्टअप्स। इसी तरह से इस प्रोजेक्ट के माध्यम से भी हम वी आर एंगेजिंग इन अ वाइडर पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टिसिपेशन, एंड द प्राइवेट एजेंसी इज़ गोइंग टू बी फ्रॉम कैनेडा। तो इसके लिए बहुत चैलेंजिंग था। इट टुक अस लॉट ऑफ टाइम फर्स्ट टू कन्विंस आवर प्राइवेट पार्टनर टू एंगेज विद अस here in India, that too in Jammu. Then to get the government of India's approvals, because as all of you know, this is a prohibited substance. So to convince the authorities that this is going to be put to good use, not to abuse, that was the second challenge. Third, as Dr. Zubair was mentioning, transportation, because the transportation of itself invites rule of law. So to get special permission to transport it for trials. And our fourth stage will be commercialization and through the pharma companies. The cultivation process takes about 6 months. From the field through the lab development, finally up to the pharma shelf, it is about 2 months, not a long period. The drug that is developed has a special significance for patients suffering from debilitating pains particularly resulting from cancers, malignancies. Also cruciating diabetic pains, diabetic neuropathy is sometimes a very cruciating, leads to depression also in many patients. Thirdly, in case of nerve pains happening as a result of or a follow-up of injuries. And as we move forward, like any other drug, we go to the next generation of this drug, we'll also try to minimize the side effects, so that the potency of the effect that we want as a pain reliever gets improved and the side effects get reduced. So this is, and as far as IIIM is concerned, I don't know how many of us are aware, and I think this is something that we need to tell a little loudly and blow the trumpet also. This is a third major achievement going to be from IIIM, which is of world level. This is same institute which came out with the mint tablet, which is used all over the world. It's not known over here. The mint trial was done in the same lab by Colonel Ramnath Chopra, the founder of this lab, who was later knighted, became Sir Ramnath Chopra. Secondly, the aroma mission was also initiated in the same lab. Lavender cultivation, about which Prime Minister Modi spoke in Man Ki Baat for about 7 minutes. And third is going to be this landmark. And this is going to place Jammu and Kashmir and Jammu as a front-line territory as far as medical research and development is concerned, particularly in the area of healthcare in relation to diseases which are now acquiring almost an epidemic proportion, whether it's the malignancy or diabetes. And I think at the social level, it might have another impact to change the mindset of the people. That look here, every product which God has given us has certain virtues as well. It is up to us what way we use it. And I think this is going to give a new direction to the utility of this product, which is otherwise become notorious for misuse or abuse.
Cultivation for the legal purpose or legal purpose? Are you going to issue any kind of a license or it will be within the campus?
No, we will have a license, you're right. It requires approval, and I agree with you. It is a prohibited. Nobody, otherwise people will start cultivating it rampant and use it as for addiction purposes. So this is going to be a regulated cultivation for which we had to go through all these approvals. That's why it's taken about 2-3 years, because we had to convince the authorities. First of all, the authorities were not aware whether this can be done, because this is the first time we are taking up over here. So we had to give them some instances of places outside India, other places where it was being used for good purposes. Then after getting the approval for cultivation, which they did over here, the field you see outside is cultivated. Now the next stage is even transportation is prohibited. Otherwise anybody. So to get approval for transportation, which they have got in principle, in a day or two they'll receive the order. And after we are through with that, we are able to carry that product to the lab. Then the third stage would be, and lab we have already engaged in discussion for trials with Tata Memorial Hospital with AIIMS. Then the next stage would be commercialization, for which some of the pharma companies have already approached them. But as you said, for that also we'll have to go for another approval.
Chandrayaan is about to land tomorrow. So how do you see this as a success? So for the country's concerned, and what is actually the report to land?
The Chandrayaan will land around 23rd of August. Tomorrow it's going to enter the next orbit. Actually what has happened is that after it was sent out on the 14th of July, its first major landmark was to get out of the Earth's orbit. That having got out of Earth's orbit, it has now entered into Moon's orbit. So when it comes out of the Earth's orbit, it starts rotating like this. When it is walking out of this Earth orbit, it is like this: a smaller circle, then a bigger circle, then a fourth circle. They call it firing orbits. And then after the largest circle, it goes out straight into the Moon's orbit. Then in the Moon's orbit, it takes a larger circle, then a smaller circle, then a smaller circle, comes closer, about 5-6 circles. This will be completed by first week of August. Finally, it will be very close in the innermost orbit of the Moon. Then it will take about 10 days to exactly locate the spot where it should ideally get landed in the southern polar area. And the landing approximately will happen on 23rd. As we have calculated today, it will be about 5:30 in the evening, but it could change, because change depending on the alignment of the planets. But it's going to be a huge breakthrough.
Question related to politics. In Manipur, we have seen the politics has started. The BJP is saying that there is a selective outrage. People are talking about Manipur, the opposition party leaders are now talking about West Bengal and Rajasthan. While the opposition party leaders are saying that there can't be comparison. So how do you see this kind of a politics over this issue, which should have been inequally?
No, certainly I agree with you. There is no reason for politics to be indulged in this. But I think after having heard what Prime Minister Modi ji had to say, there is nothing much to add. He said that on the first day of the Parliament, while he was addressing the media, he said there no words are less to condemn it. He says the entire nation hangs its head in shame. And he also said that nobody will be allowed to go scot-free. So I think after having been said by Prime Minister what had to be said, there is nothing much to add to it. That makes clear the intent of the government, the intent of Prime Minister and his government.
But how do you see the selective outrage by the opposition party leaders?
No, certainly that selective outrage is because if opposition is trying to find politicking out of it, I think it is for all of us to rise above this. Because it is certainly, as Prime Minister said, this is something the entire nation should feel concerned about. And if we try to draw politics out of it, that means somewhere we are actually losing that sense of proportion which we should have exercised. अब देखिए, अगर ये कोई कह दे कि साहब पीएम ने जो कहा मुझे उस पर विश्वास नहीं, तो इसका क्या जवाब दिया जाएगा? लेकिन जब प्रधानमंत्री ने जो कहा है, मुझे लगता है उसके बाद कुछ उस बात में जोड़ने का कोई औचित्य नहीं है। और उन्होंने बड़े स्पष्ट शब्दों में कहा, सारे देश ने सुना कि जो भी हुआ है उससे सारा देश शर्मसार है और किसी को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा।
Very insulting statement coming from Mamata Banerjee. She said Pulwama was stage managed. It was a fake bombing because they wanted to create spectacle in front of the cameras, and that's what they
No, I agree with you. That is an echo of what Pakistan is saying. So the question that she should have asked is she speaking for India or is she speaking for Pakistan? The whole of the nation is aware of what happened in Pulwama and the manner this was avenged also by this government. Instead of taking pride in that, we are trying to denigrate our forces, our nationalist sentiment, and above all, the clear and sincere intent of Prime Minister Modi. नहीं, कोई थ्रेट नहीं है। ये इनका आपस में मिलना ही इस बात का प्रतीक है कि ये अपने आप को कमज़ोर समझ रहे हैं। सो दे आर गेटिंग टुगेदर टू फाइंड आउट हाउ बेस्ट टू लिव अप टू द चैलेंज पोस्ड बाय बीजेपी अंडर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी। और पहले इनसे पूछा जाए कि इनका नेता कौन है, इनकी बैठक की अध्यक्षता कौन करेगा।